All right, so you're heading to Singapore for business,
Yeah.
and you need to know the score like right away. No time to waste.
Exactly.
So this is going to be your crash course in how to make that trip a total win.
Yeah, think of Singapore as kind of like the engine room, of global business. It's
Yeah.
such a hub. And for over 25 years now, organizations like this, moveandstay.com, have really been helping people kind of figure out what it's like to be there and live and work there.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at their website,
Yeah.
and it's really set up to help people find places to stay and find places to work.
Absolutely. And it's so important to understand how things work there. Like you said, it's a huge player in finance, tech, education, tourism, healthcare, like you name it.
Yeah, no, you're right. You really have to understand the nuances
Yeah.
to be effective on a trip like that.
For sure.
So that's really what we're doing today.
Yeah.
We're going beyond kind of the surface level stuff
Right.
that you might get in a typical travel guide.
The tip of the iceberg.
Right, and giving you really the critical insights to navigate everything.
Everything.
From the cultural side to like where to stay,
Logistics.
how to get around,
Absolutely.
all of that.
Yeah, we're going to make sure that your trip is not just, smooth, but that it's really effective.
That's a success.
Yeah.
Come back
Yeah.
having achieved.
Mission accomplished.
Right.
Goals.
So we'll be breaking down how the culture in Singapore really shapes business interactions.
Okay.
We'll look at the essential etiquette, how to avoid those common misunderstandings.
Yeah.
We'll help you pick the right place to stay, figure out their amazing transport system,
Okay.
and, of course, where to network and where to dine.
All right.
Oh, and the important stuff. Safety and health guidelines, the best times to go.
Okay.
And we'll even touch on how tech is changing the game over there.
That sounds great. Let's jump right in
Okay.
with understanding the business culture in Singapore. Okay, so Singapore's business world, it's really shaped by its diversity of cultures, right?
Okay.
You've got Chinese, Malay, Indian, Eurasian traditions.
Yeah, it's a real melting pot.
It is. It is. And that creates like a very specific set of expectations. And, understanding that and respecting those differences, it's not just being polite.
Right.
It's actually like the foundation for building good business relationships.
Okay, so I'm hearing it's not enough to like just learn a few phrases,
Right.
different languages.
It's much more than that.
Like, how does this really play out in a meeting?
So think of it as like understanding the unspoken language of collaboration.
Okay.
Like one big thing is this concept of face, right?
It's a face. Okay.
Maintaining your dignity and the dignity of others.
Okay.
That's absolutely crucial there, and that can influence everything.
Okay.
How you negotiate, how you give feedback, how you handle disagreements.
Yeah.
If someone feels slighted, even if you didn't mean it, it can
Okay.
have a huge impact. You really have to be careful to maintain that social harmony.
So I'm imagining this face thing could be like a potential minefield if you don't understand it.
It definitely can be.
Yeah. Can you give me like a concrete example of how that might come up in, say, a negotiation?
Sure. So let's say you're reviewing a proposal and you see some flaws, right?
Okay.
Now, in the West, you might just be very direct.
Right. Just point them out.
Exactly. But in Singapore, that could be a problem
Okay.
because you're kind of calling them out publicly.
I see.
So a better approach would be to kind of gently guide the conversation towards those areas.
Okay.
Maybe ask some questions,
Yeah.
get them to think about it themselves without directly saying, hey, you messed this up.
Right.
That way, everyone saves face and the relationship stays positive.
That's a really good point.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about face.
Right.
Let's get into some of the more practical things now.
Okay.
Like, what about the dress code?
Okay. So Singapore's weather is tropical.
Hot and humid.
Hot and humid, yeah. But when it comes to business,
Okay.
it's better to be a little more formal, especially for those big meetings.
Okay.
Smart casual is usually fine,
Okay.
but a suit shows that you're serious and you respect them.
So suit up.
Yeah, especially for that first meeting
Yeah.
or a big presentation.
Okay.
You can always take the jacket off later if it's more relaxed.
Right, right.
But yeah, first impressions
Yeah.
make a difference.
Okay, and what about being on time?
Punctuality. Oh, that is non-negotiable.
Okay.
Being on time is like the ultimate sign of respect there because
Okay.
you're showing that you value that time. If you're going to be late, even if it's not your fault,
Yeah.
let them know right away.
Right.
That's really important.
Okay, so being on time is huge.
Absolutely.
Is that more emphasized in Singapore than in other places, would you say?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
They're all about efficiency
Right.
and respecting schedules.
Okay. All right. What about gifts?
Okay, so gift giving, it's not like a big thing in that initial meeting, you know?
Okay.
If you do decide to give a
Mm.
gift,
Yeah.
keep it small and thoughtful, like
Mhm.
something that represents your own culture
Okay.
or your company.
Okay.
Don't go overboard with something super expensive
Right.
because that can actually make them uncomfortable.
Yeah. It feels like an obligation.
Exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the thought that counts.
Yeah, just a small gesture.
Yeah, like something nice from your home country or
Yeah.
a small token after you've, achieved something together.
Okay, and business cards. I know there's like a whole ritual around that.
There is.
Yeah.
So exchanging business cards, it's a big deal.
Okay.
Always use both hands
Okay.
when you're giving and receiving cards.
Okay.
And don't just like shove it in your pocket.
Right.
Actually take a moment to look at it
Right.
before you put it away somewhere safe.
Got it.
It's a small thing, but it shows respect.
Yeah, respect for the person in the moment, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered some really great etiquette tips.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering, what are some of the biggest mistakes that people make?
Oh, there are a few.
Yeah, especially Westerners going to Singapore for the first time.
Yeah. The biggest one, I think, is assuming that because everyone speaks English
Right.
and it seems modern, that the business culture is the same as back home.
Yeah, like it's basically Westernized.
Yeah, that's so not true.
Okay.
There are a lot of subtle but really important cultural differences.
Okay, can you give me an example of where that could cause problems?
Communication styles.
Okay.
So in some Western cultures, being direct is seen as good, right?
Right, efficient.
Yeah. But in Singapore, communication is more indirect.
Okay.
You have to pay attention to how things are said,
Right.
not just the words themselves.
So reading between the lines.
So absolutely. And, giving someone direct feedback, especially negative feedback,
Yeah.
that can really damage that face we were talking about.
So how do you give feedback then?
You have to be more careful. Focus on what can be improved
Uh-huh.
rather than pointing out mistakes.
Okay.
And definitely not in public.
Right, right.
Another thing people get wrong is thinking that just because Singapore is efficient,
Uh-huh.
that you can just jump right into business.
Right.
Building relationships takes time.
Right.
You need to develop trust before you start negotiating.
Okay, so efficiency doesn't mean rushing the relationship.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Oh, and here's a practical tip. Always carry an umbrella.
Well,
It rains a lot in Singapore.
oh, well,
Even if it's sunny when you leave,
right.
you can get caught in a downpour out of nowhere.
So always be prepared.
Exactly.
Good advice.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about where to stay now.
Okay.
How do you choose the right place?
Well, location is key, right?
Right.
You want to be close to your meetings.
Yeah.
Easy to get to public transport.
Uh-huh.
Make sure the hotel has good Wi-Fi,
Right.
maybe a business center, things like that.
Of course, budget matters too.
It does.
Yeah.
And you should check if your company has any deals with certain hotels,
Right.
preferred partners.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think this is where these companies like moveandstay.com
Right.
can be really helpful.
Yeah.
They can find you the right place based on your specific needs.
Yeah, they can make all the arrangements and stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, so what areas would you say are the most convenient?
The downtown core and Marina Bay are usually good bets.
Okay.
Lots of international hotels there.
Yeah.
And they're right in the middle of the business districts.
Right.
Orchard Road is another popular choice.
Okay.
It's a good mix of business, great restaurants,
Yeah.
and if you have some free time, it's famous for shopping.
Okay, and you mentioned a couple of specific hotels earlier.
I did.
Remind me which ones you like.
So the Conrad Centennial Singapore by Hilton,
Okay.
that's a really luxurious one.
Okay.
Right on Marina Bay.
Yeah.
Amazing views.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get to everything from there. The Grand Mercure Singapore Roxy is another good one,
Okay.
especially if you're entertaining clients
Okay.
or need to be close to the airport or cruise terminal.
Okay, those sound great.
Yeah.
What if you don't want to stay in a hotel?
There are definitely other options.
Like what?
Service departments are great if you're staying longer.
Okay.
Or if you need more space and
Mhm.
want a kitchen.
Okay.
They usually have things like a gym, laundry.
Yeah.
It feels more like home.
Right.
Hostels are an option, but they're really more for budget travelers.
Yeah.
Probably not ideal for business.
Right. Right.
And then there's Airbnb.
Okay.
But you have to be careful with that. Make
Correct.
sure the location works for you.
Right.
Read the reviews carefully.
Yeah.
Make sure it's reliable.
And that they have what you need.
Exactly. And again,
Yeah.
a site like moveandstay.com
Right.
can help you find the right Airbnb.
Okay, great advice. Okay, so you're settled in your hotel.
Right?
Now you need to get around. How easy is it to navigate Singapore?
Really easy.
Oh,
Their public transport is amazing.
okay.
Super efficient, well-connected,
Great.
even if it's your first time.
Okay, let's talk about the MRT,
Okay, the MRT,
the Mass Rapid Transit.
that's like their subway system.
Okay.
It's the fastest and cheapest way to get around.
Okay.
It's clean, it's on time, it goes everywhere.
Okay, how do you pay?
You can get a Singapore tourist pass
Okay.
that gives you unlimited rides for a certain number of days.
Okay.
Good if you're going to be using it a lot.
Right.
Or you can get an EZ Link card.
Okay.
It's like a prepaid card that you can use on the MRT and the buses.
Okay, that sounds easy.
It is, and there's this app called mytransport.sg.
Okay.
Download that.
Okay.
It's a lifesaver.
What does it do?
It shows you real-time bus and train times,
Okay.
and it helps you plan the best route.
Okay, sounds really useful.
It is.
Okay, what about taxis and ride hailing?
You can find taxis everywhere, especially downtown, near hotels, and at taxi stands.
Oh.
They use meters, but there are surcharges during rush hour
Okay.
and in certain areas.
Got it.
Ride hailing is really popular too.
Yeah.
Grab is the big one there.
Okay.
You book through the app and you usually get a fixed fare.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, helps you budget.
Okay, now what if I want to walk or bike around?
Singapore is actually pretty walkable,
Okay.
especially around Marina Bay and downtown.
Okay.
The sidewalks are good and there are lots of crosswalks.
Okay.
Cycling is getting more popular too.
Okay.
They have dedicated bike paths in a lot of places.
Okay.
Just remember to drink lots of water.
Yeah.
It's hot and humid.
Right.
You can get dehydrated easily.
Okay.
Oh, and if you need to get to any of the islands,
Yeah.
they have ferries.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Now, what about rush hour?
Ah, rush hour.
Yeah.
The MRT can get crowded then.
Oh.
So if you can avoid traveling at those times,
Yeah.
do it.
Makes sense.
If not, give yourself extra time.
Right.
And watch out for the ERP,
ERP.
the electronic road pricing.
Okay.
It's basically tolls on certain roads during rush hour.
Okay.
So it can affect the price of taxis and private cars.
Okay. Good to keep in mind.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about food
Okay.
and networking because that's a big part of any business trip.
It is.
So where are the good spots to connect with people over a meal?
Well, when you're choosing a restaurant for a business meeting,
Yeah.
you're not just looking for good food.
Right. The atmosphere is important too.
Exactly. It should be a place where you can have a conversation.
Yeah.
And it should match the level of formality.
Okay.
So depending on the occasion, you could go high-end,
Okay.
like a place called Odette,
Okay.
very sophisticated.
Okay.
Or you could even try one of their famous hawker centers.
Okay, I've heard about those.
They're like open-air food courts.
Okay.
But the food is amazing.
Okay.
Some of them even have Michelin stars now.
Wow.
It's a really unique experience.
Okay, so basically it depends on what you're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of atmosphere, what kind of food.
Okay, now are there any specific dishes that I should try?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trying the local food is a great way to connect with people.
Okay.
Like Hainanese chicken rice.
Okay.
It's simple, but so delicious.
Oh.
And you can always ask people where to find the best one.
Okay.
That's a good conversation starter.
Yeah.
Chili crab is another must-try.
Okay.
It's super flavorful, but it's messy.
Okay.
Be prepared to get your hands dirty.
Okay, I'm in.
Then there's laksa.
Okay.
It's a spicy noodle soup.
Okay.
Really gives you a taste of local flavors.
Okay. All right.
And then for something more casual,
Yeah.
satay.
Satay.
Okay. Grilled meat skewers
Okay.
with peanut sauce.
Yeah.
Perfect for sharing.
Okay.
It shows you're interested in their culture,
Right.
not just the business.
Those all sound great.
Okay.
What about more formal networking events?
Singapore has tons of those.
Okay.
Look for conferences,
Okay.
seminars, workshops in your industry.
Okay.
The Singapore Business Federation and the Chambers of Commerce,
Ah.
they always have events going on.
Okay.
And a lot of business people go to rooftop bars after work
Okay.
to unwind and network.
Nice.
The views are amazing from up there.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, you should also see if there are any industry groups
Okay.
or associations that have regular meetups.
Great. All right. So we've covered food. We've covered networking.
Yep.
Let's talk about safety now.
Okay.
What should people know about staying safe in Singapore?
Overall, Singapore is extremely safe.
Okay.
Very low crime rate.
Good.
But you still have to be smart,
Right.
like anywhere else.
Yeah.
Especially in tourist areas.
Okay.
Be careful with your valuables.
Right.
And don't walk alone in dark or unfamiliar areas late at night.
Okay. Good advice.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything you should do before you even go to Singapore?
Yeah, register your trip with your embassy.
Okay.
That way they know you're there if anything happens.
Right, right.
And when you get there,
Yeah.
make copies of your important documents.
Okay.
Like your passport,
Yeah.
your visa.
Okay.
Keep those copies separate from the originals,
Got it.
just in case.
Okay, what about healthcare?
Their healthcare system is excellent.
Okay.
Really high standards.
Good to know.
It's easy to get medical help if you need it.
Okay.
Most hotels have a doctor on call.
Okay.
And there are clinics and hospitals everywhere.
Okay.
The most important thing is to have good travel insurance.
Right.
That covers medical expenses.
Of course.
And if you need any over-the-counter meds,
Yeah.
there are pharmacies all over the place.
Okay.
Oh, and the tap water is safe to drink.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah,
So no need to worry about bottled water.
exactly.
Okay. And what about emergency numbers? What should I have in my phone?
So for any emergency, police, ambulance, fire,
Yeah.
call 999.
999.
If you need the police but it's not an emergency,
Okay.
call 1777.
Okay, got it.
And make sure you have the number for your embassy saved too,
Yeah, of course.
just in case.
All right, so let's talk about the best time to go to Singapore.
Okay.
Are there good and bad times of year to go?
The shoulder seasons are usually the best.
Okay.
That's March to May and September to November.
Okay.
The weather's a little less humid then,
Okay.
and there aren't as many tourists.
Right.
And you might even get better deals on flights and hotels.
Yeah, now what about the weather in general?
Singapore is hot and humid all year round.
Okay.
It's a tropical rainforest climate.
Right.
Temperatures are usually between 27 and 32 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
That's like 81 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And it rains a lot,
Yeah.
especially during the monsoon season,
When is that?
December to early March.
Okay.
So yeah, pack light clothes that breathe
Right.
and always have an umbrella.
Yeah, we talked about that. Okay, are there any big events that I should know about?
There are always events happening in Singapore.
Okay.
Like if you're in tech, check out Innofest Unbound.
Okay.
For food lovers, there's the Singapore Food Festival in July,
Okay.
and of course the Singapore Grand Prix in September.
Okay.
That's a huge one.
Yeah.
Going to these events is a good way to network
Yeah.
and experience the culture.
Right.
But book your hotel early
Okay.
because prices go up during big events.
Makes sense.
And remember, the humidity can be tough,
Yeah.
especially if you're not used to it.
Right.
Drink lots of water and take breaks in air conditioning.
Okay, good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least,
Okay.
let's talk about technology.
Okay.
How is that changing the game for business travel in Singapore?
Singapore loves technology.
Okay.
They're always finding new ways to make travel easier and more efficient.
Okay.
It's all about using digital tools to make your trip better.
Okay, like what?
So there are these platforms and apps that help you with everything,
Yeah.
like booking your flights and hotels.
Right.
Sometimes with help from sites like moveandstay.com,
Yeah.
managing your itinerary,
Okay.
keeping track of your expenses.
All right.
You can have all your travel details in one place.
Okay.
You can get AI-powered recommendations
Yeah.
and even do your expense reports automatically.
Okay, so that saves a lot of time.
It does.
Yeah.
And once you're in Singapore,
Yeah.
you can use digital boarding passes,
Okay.
e-visas,
Yeah.
online collaboration tools.
Right.
It's all about staying connected and working efficiently.
Okay.
And, they even have real-time translation apps now.
Oh.
Really helpful if you need to communicate with people.
Yeah.
And they're really pushing for sustainable travel options, too.
That's great.
Yeah, so businesses and individuals can be more eco-friendly.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what does the future hold?
Oh, it's going to be really interesting.
Okay.
I think we'll see more VR and AR
Okay.
for things like virtual meetings and remote site visits.
Yeah.
And blockchain will probably be used more
For what?
for secure transactions, like
Okay.
paying for your trip.
Oh, yeah.
And AI will make travel super personalized.
Wow.
Like, it'll know what you need before you even do.
Okay.
And Singapore is going to be leading the way with all this.
Yeah.
They're all about innovation.
So it's going to be even more efficient
Absolutely.
and even more attractive for business.
Yeah. Singapore's really going to be the place to be.
Wow. Okay. This has been a really incredible deep dive.
Yeah.
So to recap,
Yeah.
the key things for a successful business trip to Singapore are
Be aware of the culture. Plan your accommodation and transportation.
Feel that.
Network.
network
And be prepared for the climate.
and stay safe.
And stay safe, of course.
Yeah.
It's a really unique place.
Well.
Modern, but with a rich history.
Yeah.
The perfect blend.
So as you're getting ready for your trip,
Yeah.
I want you to think about this. Singapore is all about Tradition and technology working together.
Yeah,
How can you apply that to your own business?
good question.
Yeah, what can you learn from them that you can bring back home?
Something to think about.
Yeah, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
You're welcome.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.